Well, with 98 days to go before Kenyans go to the polls to choose their favorite leaders, 47 individuals have expressed their interest to occupy the House on the Hill on an independent ticket. They have until tonight to present their documents to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. But also, we'll be talking about the current occupant of the House on the Hill, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the simmering tension between him and his Deputy President William Ruto, I beg your pardon, seems to be getting out of hand, and that's the reason why I'll be joined by a political scientist, Professor Adams Law, to try and make sense out of that public spat between the two. Good evening, my name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Catherine Sibalo. We begin, but first let's have a look at the highlights. Tonight, government imposes a 30-day dusk to dawn curfew in Marsabit County to weed out illegal firearms.
With effect from 6 p.m. tonight, we have placed the whole of Marsabit County under curfew. For 30 days, there will be a curfew in place in Marsabit between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
At least 5 people, including a local chief, have been killed in 1 week. Muslims in the country joined the globe to celebrate Eid al-Fitr to mark the end of Ramadan. Plus, independent candidates in a rush to beat the IEBC deadline to submit their documents.
They are not conducting their nomination in a transparent manner. They are preferred candidates.
As IEBC suspends voter registration for 1 year to allow for verification of biometric data. And Azimio One Kenya flag bearer Raila Odinga traverses Laikipia and Kirinyaga counties in his Mount Kenya tour.
Yale mianya ambayo hawa wanapenya naye na kuingia kwa hazina zetu tutaziba zote.
Good evening once more and welcome to the broadcast. A dusk to dawn curfew has been imposed in Marsabit County by the government following a spate of attacks that has led to the loss of lives. The curfew will last for 30 days, during which the government will be conducting a disarmament exercise. Sharon Baranga kickstarts this bulletin tonight.
Family and friends have gathered to bid farewell to Kennedy Kongoman, a chief from Logologo in Marsabit County. Kennedy was among 5 people who were killed last week by bandits. His deputy also died in the attack. Following the incident, the government has made a decision.
With effect from 6 p.m. tonight, we have placed the whole of Marsabit County under curfew. For 30 days, there will be a curfew in place in Marsabit between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. We have in the last 1 week build up, and we continue to build unprecedented security resources in Marsabit, because we must bring that county under peace, and we must ensure that all illegal firearms and illegal arms there are surrendered to law enforcement agencies. We will stay on this operation until sanity prevails and until we stop the senseless loss of lives in that county.
Marsabit residents are worried that the spate of attacks might escalate in the county.
Tumepoteza watu 6, watu 5 wamesikwa, mmoja bado hatujapata mwili wake.
Wale watu wametupiga ni zaidi ya serikali. Hawa sio raia tena. They are more than the government. Ile silaha wako nazo ni silaha ambaye hata serikali hawana. Mbona raia peke yake wanakuwa na silaha kama hiyo ambaye raia hawana? Serikali hata hawana. Tunataka, sisi ni wamama, tunaumia.
Give us back our home guards. Give us back the people who will protect us when we're 100 kilometers away from your bases here, your police base or DO's base.
Vijana wetu wanauawa bure. Ninauawa kwa sababu tunazika wanaume wetu bure kila wakati. Segel wanaume walikufa. Warani ambaye tumewaprepare kutairi for 1 year na tukawatairi kutairi vijana na wakauawa bila sababu. Hawakuiba, walienda wakapigwa wakauawa.
However, the Interior CS is pointing an accusing finger at leaders in the county.
And the president candidly asked them that the government has restrained itself from now taking certain steps in the hope that the leaders of Marsabit will come to their senses and understand that they cannot use their local people, innocent wananchi, as collateral for their political contestations and political wars. This has not happened. Time and time again, we have seen lives senselessly lost. And every time an incident happens, one group blames the other, and it's a constant, endless blame game, irresponsible behavior on the part of the political leadership of that county. It's like they're in a race of who will acquire more illegal arms and who will arm their goons more than the other. And constantly, as we held these conversations, the leaders have been less than truthful. There is no one group of people in that county, let me be very frank with all of us, there is no one group of leaders that is innocent. Each one of them builds up and arms, thugs, accesses illegal firearms because they're in the neighborhood of a conflict area and a conflict region.
The government has also drawn a connection between the attacks in Marsabit and terrorism in the country.
We think some resources are being channeled to terrorist cells. You may recall that just recently, our security forces intercepted a huge cache of explosives in Meriti. Those explosives were meant for Nairobi. They were being moved by a terrorist cell. And that route has become worrisome to all of us over the recent years. I cannot recount the number of times our police officers have disrupted planned terror activity that is being channeled through that route.
The government has assured Marsabit residents that they will ensure security is restored in the county after the 1-month operation. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Politics now. ODM boss Raila Odinga was on a second-day tour of the Mount Kenya region. Odinga was in Laikipia and Kirinyaga counties, promising to better the lives of Kenyans if he ascends to power in August. Josh Ansari reports.
99 days to the August 9th polls. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Party flag bearer Raila Odinga pitched tent in Laikipia and Kirinyaga counties on his 3 days tour of the region after attending President Mwai Kibaki's burial in Othaya over the weekend.
Bei ya bidhaa ziko juu zaidi wakati huu. Bei ya mafuta iko juu. Unga iko juu. Si kila kitu iko juu, sio? Tutabadilisha haya yote.
Raila promising the residents of Nanyuki more development if elected the 5th president of Kenya in August. He says he is the best fit to lead the country.
The first 100 days of Baba's government, mtaona mabadiliko makubwa kwa taifa letu.
While addressing residents in Nanyuki town, Laikipia County and Kirinyaga County, Raila castigated his Kenya Kwanza opponents, accusing them of lacking any agenda for Kenyans, adding that his government will uplift Kenyans economically.
Uchumi haitaki fujo, uchumi haitaki story mingi, uchumi inahitaji mtu ambaye ako na utulivu. Na anajua sio campaign every day.
Raila has also promised to tame corruption in the country and arrest corrupt leaders once he ascends to power later this year.
Wote maskani yao itakuwa jela. Maskani yao itakuwa jela. Tutawatoa hawa watu. Manake hao watu wanaharibu mali ya taifa letu. Tena wanajivunia hapa. Sisi tukishika hatamu ya utawala mtaona.
Drumming up support for Raila Odinga's presidential bid, leaders who accompanied him defended the handshake between Odinga and President Kenyatta, saying it has brought great achievement to the nation.
2017, alikuja handshake. He did not ask for anything from Uhuru Kenyatta. And I'm a member of parliament, I'll tell you. The development ile may happen after handshake from 2018 to now is double what we did from 2013 to 2017.
Yule mtu ambaye anaelewa na ako na ujuzi anaitwa Raila Amolo Odinga.
Ya kwamba miaka yote umesikia akikutetea. Hiyo inamaanisha akipata kazi sababu hajui kitu ingine, anajua kulinda haki za Mkenya.
Ukiangalia historia yetu, Kirinyaga we don't.
Odinga also defended the party zoning with the Azimio coalitions, which he says will help the coalition clinch more seats.
Ni sababu tunataka kuona kama yale ambayo yamefanyika kwa mchujo inaponeshwa haraka. Ili sasa tuungane pamoja tukiendelea katika mambo ya kampeni.
Joash Onsare, TV 47.
Now moving on, at least 47 Kenyans have shown interest to run for the country's top job as independent candidates in the August polls. The 47 have until tonight to submit their documents to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission for clearance ahead of the polls. Have a look.
This could be Kenya's longest list of presidential candidates. Sources indicate that so far, 47 Kenyans want to run for the top job on August 9th. The independent candidates had until today to submit their clearance from the Registrar of Political Parties. The 47 include Jeremiah Nixon Kukubo, who had severally tried his luck, Edward Kinyanjui, James Kamau, Duncan Odwor, Aoko Bernard Ongir, and David Chome. Former presidential running mate Muthiora Kariara is also seeking to lead the country, as well as Ouma Odimwengu, Brian Oluoch, Esther Waringa, and Faith Wairemo. Others include Patrick Kariuki, former cabinet minister Jeremiah Nyaga's son John Mwaneki, Gibson Ngaroya, Benjamin Kelvin Damboki, Kelvin Onyango, and gospel artist Ruben Kigame. Others seeking to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta are Joe Stanley Kamau, former PCEA moderator David Githe, Peter Ndonga, Benson Mwaura, and Paul Muriongi. You might also see the names of Nyagoko Jacob Oanda, Wanjigi Harrison Joroge, and Jared Chula at the ballot in August. Moses Gichuki, Ta Slomuzi, Nyangori Dorothy Kemunto, Victor Obote, and Jeremiah Simiu, who also want to lead the country. Others include George Munyota, Erastus Nyamera, Stephen Owoko, Bernard Neto, and Kiprono Felix. The presidential ballot might also have Samuel Mwangangi, Zablon Karanja, Greta Muthoni, Samuel Kiambati, Joseph Mbogwa, June Juliet Munyeki, and Begum Nazlin. Every Kenyan is qualified to run for the top job as an independent candidate if he has not been a member of a political party for at least 3 months to the polls and satisfies the constitution requirements.
Now to related issues, thousands of independent candidates have been in the last-minute rush to submit their documents to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) ahead of the deadline tonight. The independent candidates have, however, decried the move by the IEBC to request voters' identification cards as confirmation of their candidature. Mike Kagwango with the details.
Monday, May 2nd, 2022 is the deadline for submission of independent candidates' documents to the poll agency IEBC. Kenyans from across the country who wish to vie as independent candidates flocked at IEBC headquarters at the anniversary towers to grab their highway to the August polls. Many lamenting that the primaries were not fair nor free, hence their decision to vie as independent candidates.
Hatukuridhika na uchaguzi. Kama kwetu nyumbani uchaguzi umeanza saa 9, 3 p.m. ikamalizika 7 p.m. Majority of the voters hawakupata nafasi ya participate in the nominations.
They are not conducting their nomination in a transparent manner. They are preferred candidates.
I have polling station moja inaitwa Mogor polling station. Niliibiwa.
I believe even parties, if they had used IBC, maybe we could have had a free and fair process.
Aburi Eric, an MC aspirant in Kisii Central Ward, has nothing to smile about. He says despite his win at the UDA primaries on the 14th of April this year and receiving a provisional certificate, upon arrival at the headquarters here in Nairobi, his competitor, who emerged third at the primaries, was awarded the certificate instead.
Nikaibuka mshindi, nikapewa provisional certificate. Tulipokuwa tunakuja kuchukua certificate hapa Nairobi, kufika nikapata certificate yangu imeandikiwa mtu ambaye alikuwa namba 3. Nimejaribu kupita hiyo ofisi, nikakaa hiyo siku, nimejaribu kupita kila ofisi, kila mtu nikimpata ananiambia wanasiasa katika kaunti yako ndio wamehusika na hili neno.
The faith now lies in Kenyans whom they hope will not be manipulated by party politics and instead elect a leader worthy of the people.
That we will have very many members of parliament, very many members of county assembly, in particular in areas where we have had nominations which have been symbolic and rigged, bungled.
The timber and quality of a leader comes down to the individual skill, right? So whatever shortcomings you have as a leader, being in a party won't cover it up. You cannot download leadership acumen from the party apparatus. You either have it or you don't.
As things stand now, more than 5,000 MCA aspirants have registered as independent candidates, more than 1,000 others vying for Member of Parliament seats, and more than 200 aspirants for women representative seat registering as independent candidates. Those grappling for the senatorial seat coming to more than 100 aspirants, 70 fighting for the gubernatorial positions, and 47 for the country's top seat. The independent candidates now decrying the move by the IEBC to request voters' identification cards as confirmation of their candidature, as it seems tedious to most of them.
As an independent candidate, ninasikia tunadhulumiwa kwa sababu wanatuitisha 1,000 physical copies za IDs. Na unajua kama IEBC, hii kitu hawajaambia wananchi. They have not done enough voter education. Juzi tukienda huko mashinani, kuambia Wanjiko akupatie physical copy ya ID, ufanye photocopy, hiyo ni kitu hawajawahi sikia.
Na vile vile pia tunaomba IEBC wahakikishe kwamba waondoe hii condition ya watu kubeba vitambulisho vya watu. Condition rahisi ni kwamba tuwe na hizo signatures, watu tusainie, tuingie uwanjani, tumenyane na wao. Na wale ambao wanasukuma kuwekwe sheria kama hizi ni wale watu wenye vyama kama ODM, UDA, wao wanajua ya kwamba sisi tumewatoroka, sasa wanatuwekea vikwazo.
In 2017 elections, former Senator Mohamed Koti and former MP Nderitu Mureithi became the first independent candidates to win governor seats in Isiolo and Laikipia respectively. 13 members of National Assembly won their seats as independent candidates. Meanwhile, IEBC has suspended the application for new voter registration and change in registration of voters in Kenya and for Kenyan citizens living outside the country from Wednesday this week up to March 13, 2023. The Commission says this is to allow the Commission to enable availability of registration of voters to the public for purposes of verification of biometric data and particulars of registered voters. Independent candidates will now proceed to their respective county and constituency offices to be issued with statutory forms for purposes of collecting particulars of their supporters. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Anniversary Towers, Nairobi County.
Now, the battle for the soul of the Mount Kenya region between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto is behind Kenyatta's outburst yesterday on his deputy William Ruto. Political analysts say President Kenyatta's push to assert his supremacy and deliver votes for Azimio leader Raila Odinga has left him frustrated, as an ambitious DP Ruto has amassed a huge following in the vote-rich region where he has pinned his presidential hopes on. Apollo Kamau reports.
President Uhuru Kenyatta's Sunday outburst on his deputy William Ruto was a culmination of a tense week of no handshakes, disregard of protocols where the DP normally invites the president in state functions, and DP Ruto's political jabs directed at the president, exposing a deadly political rift that marks the start of a 3-month divisive campaign.
Uko wapi? Badala ya kunisaidia kuondoa hiyo shida, wewe uko kwa soko kusema ulizeni ule. Basi si ungewacha uniwachie mimi nitafute mtu ambaye angenisaidia jameni.
Arata amwai wake vake Moriega.
Kibaki's burial in Othaya, Nyeri County, broke the straw on the camel's back as Ruto and Azimio la Umoja flag bearer Raila Odinga turned it into a popularity contest, as seen President Uhuru Kenyatta's allies said did not impress the president, who avoided politics only to fire the salvo on his deputy the following day.
To go into this election and make sure that election will be peaceful and that it won't be necessary for us to have a handshake, that the election will be peaceful.
As part, political analysts say, is at the heart of Mount Kenya political supremacy between the president and his deputy, as the president tries to endear himself to the region while using tact to keep Ruto in check as Odinga campaigns.
Remember, they have tried to tell the president that keep away from your succession. The president is making it very clear that I'm going to play a part, and therefore the deputy president and his lieutenants are going to say, then it's game on, and the president is also going to say, it's game on. So I can say, welcome to the party.
Wagojee miaka 10, Uhuru amalize kazi yake, alafu wagojee miaka ingine 10, Ruto amalize kazi yake.
Deputy President William Ruto and his allies feel shortchanged, especially after the handshake in 2018, when it became clear the president was abandoning his deputy to embrace Odinga, making Ruto start early campaigns while opening controversial government projects. A move that saw Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i became elevated as Mr. Fix-It of Uhuru's development agenda in a Gazette notice. Though Ruto has faulted the Gazette notice, he had earlier on embarrassed it in a BBC interview.
How on earth can you talk about sidelining if the same committee ultimately reports to the president and myself?
The deputy president, while in the president's backyard, has often hit back at his boss, telling him to allow Odinga to face him, his main challenger in the August poll.
The genesis of all this anger is when I think William Ruto felt that politically he's going to be betrayed by the president. And he then exited and pursued his own path. And the path he pursued was go for his own presidential bid, go to where it was, perceived to be the president's backyard, that is the central region, and walk around and claim that he's the one who has really supported the president, and he has won some level of admiration from that region. So for that reason, I think the president has not been very happy.
With gloves off, Uhuru and Ruto are likely to finish their term on a divisive note, marking a bitter transition to post-Kenyatta era. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Well, thanks for that, Apollo Kamau. Now, the Azimio One Kenya panel tasked to select Raila Odinga's running mate will start the interviews for the possible candidates on Wednesday this week. However, Kenya Kwanza Brigade has asked Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga to stop subjecting Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to what they said is an interview in order to become his running mate. Speaking at the UDA, the UDA chairman Johnson Muthama's daughter funeral, the leaders rubbished Odinga's promises, terming him as a greedy leader whose interest is to gain power and benefit himself.
Juzi tukiwa Othaya hapo, tunaenda kwa funeral ya mzee Kibaki. Mimi nilikuwa na naibu wa rais. Kalonzo akafika na rafiki yangu anaitwa Kio, senator wa Mbua. Wakati aliingia ile nyumba tulikuwa tumewekwa, Kalonzo anaenda kusalimia Raila, akasalimiwa hivi. Raila anaangalia upande ule na kusalimia Kalonzo. Nikajiuliza, huyu ni mtu atakuwa running mate ya mtu kweli?
Huyu mtu mlisaidia yeye 2017. Mkapatia yeye kura 1.5 million. Kwa sababu ya kura yake, Uhuru akamtafuta wafanye handshake. Alipoenda handshake, akaambiwa kuja na Kalonzo, akasema hapana. Siku nilijiapisha hakukuja, kwa hivyo hatakuja. Akaenda peke yake. Sio ni madharau?
Kalonzo, he should not be a man who decides on his behalf. Kalonzo should have people around him who helps him to decide on the way forward. Na hakuna mfalme anajiongoza yeye.
Well, moving on, the Muslim faithful in the country have joined the rest of the world in marking the Eid al-Fitr celebrations, after a month of fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. During the commemoration, religious leaders emphasized on the need for peace, unity and stability as the country prepares for the general election. Patronila Goren with the details.
Led by the Chief Qadi Ahmed Muhudar and Mombasa Governor Hassan Ali Joe, a section of Muslim faithful converged at Ronald Ngala Primary School for the early morning prayers, with the leaders calling on Kenyans to prioritize peace amid high political temperature in the country.
We are appealing to everybody. Tuwe watu watulivu, tuwe watu wa amani, tuwe watu wa udugu. After all, this is our home and we can never have another home, and therefore it is incumbent upon us to protect our home with all that we can.
Siasa si chuki, na wakati huu wa siasa unakuja, wakati wa elections unakuja, tunaomba kwa tufanye elections zetu kwa amani na kwa busara, na tuchague viongozi ambao wataleta maendeleo.
Naipenda Mombasa, kuna rasilimali yake hapa, awe amezaliwa hapa, ni mtu ambaye kwamba ni licha ya kabila, licha ya dini, na kisha zaidi siasa zisitugawanye.
In Nairobi City, presidential candidate Jimmy Wanjigi joined the faithful at Makina Mosque in Kibera, where he emphasized on the need for equality among various communities in the country.
Ndugu na dada zetu Waislamu, dhuluma ambao mumeona kutoka wanzilishi wa hii taifa miaka 60, mjue sasa itaisha. Hii ni wana Kenya kama wa Kristiano wenzani, na kwa Mungu na katiba, ukizaliwa sisi wote tuko wasawa.
We consider the holy month of Ramadan very important to us because it's the time when we, ask for forgiveness for our sins.
Religious leaders in Mombasa and Isiolo counties have backed up the statements of political leaders and warned Kenyans against being incited by the same politicians.
County hii ambayo ni Isiolo, lazima tudumishe amani pahali popote tupo, na vile tuliungana kusali Eid, lazima wakati tutafanya maamuzi tusiangalie kabila, lazima tufanye maamuzi ya busara.
The sentiments were also echoed by political leaders in Kwale, Kisii and Turkana counties, where they emphasized on the country's unity.
Na imani kwamba swala zetu Mwenyezi Mungu atazikubali. Amen. Na tuwezeshe sisi tuishi kwa amani kama Wakenya. Uchaguzi unaokuja uwe uchaguzi wa amani. Amen. Na maamuzi ya Wakenya na watu wa Kwale yawe mazuri.
Katika miezi miwili ama mitatu itakayokuja kutakuwa na kura. Wale ambao Waislamu waliosimama na Waislamu wenzao, jamani tuwakumbukeni.
Tunaomba dunia nzima na Kenya tujaribu kuzingatia amani. Tuweze kufanya kama ni campaign kwa utaratibu iliyoko na sheria ambayo iko. Na mwisho tayari Mwenyezi Mungu anajua viongozi ni watu gani.
Mwenyezi Mungu atupe serikali ambaye atajali watu wake, wananchi kwa jumla, bila kuangalia dhehebu, bila kuangalia imani, bila kuangalia, yani kuhudumia wananchi wote.
However, in Nandi and Nakuru counties, religious leaders have warned political leaders against provocative and divisive politics, as it will plunge the country in jeopardy.
Kama waumini wa dini ya Kiislamu na waumini wengine, tungeliomba viongozi wawe na msimamo mmoja, na hata kama kuna kutoelewana, wasiwe ni wenye kulumbana mbele za watu, kwa sababu sisi raia wa kawaida tunapoona jambo kama hilo, wengine hawaelewi, wanaanza kuchukulia roho juu, wanakuwa na hasira, na kama kawaida baba anapokwenda vibaya watoto ndio huumia.
Nothing should divide Kenyan people. Petty politics, tribal politics, sectoral politics should not divide people. We must always remain united, knowing that we came from God and all of us shall return to the same God.
In Lamu, Bungoma and Garissa counties, the youth have been urged to vote wisely.
Ushauri kwa vijana ndugu zetu wazidi kusoma na wasitiwe kwenye majanga ya kulevya, pamoja na wasitumie vibaya na wanasiasa.
Wanasiasa ningewaomba katika msimu huu wa election wachunge amani. Amani ni kitu muhimu sana, kwa sababu 2007 ilituonesha mambo mabaya sana katika nchi yetu hii ya Kenya.
Badala ya kulaumu kiongozi, fursa uko nayo saa hizi, chagua ile kiongozi unayedhani ambaye atakuletea maendeleo, ambaye watapeleka hii country mbele.
Kiambu Muslim faithful have called on the county and national governments to consider youth in employment opportunities in a bid to support them economically.
Vijana wetu wanakaa nyumbani, wakienda kuapply kazi hata IBC watoto wetu wanatengwa. Hiyo bwana governor, nataka tafadhali sana uchukulie hatua hiyo. Wakati
leo ingekuwa ni siku ya kusherehekea, kwa hivyo mimi ningetaka na nitafuata na hiyo na hayo, tuwe na kamati na tusione kama ati uchaguzi unakaribia, sijui ofisi zinafungwa. Hapana, mimi najua kwa mapenzi ya Mwenyezi Mungu tutakuwa na nyinyi hata tarehe 10 mwezi wa 8.
As Muslim faithfuls around the world commemorate the Eid celebrations, Muslim religious leaders have called on Kenyans to maintain peace, especially as the country gears towards the general election. Patronila Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
Well, time now for a very short break. Don't go away. We'll be back with more.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Newcastle Rani Sports
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, although rain is rare and important in northeastern Kenya, it also exposes how bad roads have for decades been an impediment to quality healthcare and food supply to the locals. Most roads in the region are seasonal and prone to flooding during heavy rains, leaving most towns cut off and denying motorists access and exit. Our Wajir-based correspondent Izzadin Haji made an attempt to travel through these roads, felt the experience firsthand, and has filed the following report.
Anyone could mistake this as a river or a stream, but this is a seasonal road in northeastern Kenya, marooned by flash floods. These are access roads to major sub-counties and towns. Heavy rains might be a relief to pastoralists in this region, but the challenges it comes with are not a walk in the park. On our way to Wajir West, we found a truck carrying food aid that was stuck on the road for hours, and it could stay here for days.
Kutoka asubuhi tumekuja hapa kitu saa 2. Tulikuwa tunapeleka chakula mahali kuna ukame ya Dando. Sasa kutoka hiyo asubuhi ngali yetu imekuwa hapa. Tungeomba serikali watusaidie. Ndio ukiangalia ile maji kwa njia hata mahali kumeadhirika chakula haiwezi fika huko.
On the way, our driver occasionally walks through the water on foot to check the levels and mark where the road is. Well, 90% of roads in this region looks like what you see behind me, seasonal roads that are completely submerged, especially during the rainy season. Well, this water stretches on this road for more than a kilometer, and we are expected to drive on this sticky mud so that we reach our destination. Luckily, we made it through, but major locations in the constituency like Hadado are cut off. Hareda Ali is a vegetable seller in the local market. She says she didn't have fresh vegetables from Wajir town for days.
Poor roads have brought challenges on our businesses. Our vegetables have been on the road for 3 days and have gone bad.
Poor roads often cut off major towns and locations in this region from food aid and medical supply. The worst being feared to occur during emergencies and referral cases in health centers, with detrimental roads at their mercy.
In case now there is a serious referral, for example, and we need to take a patient to Wajir Hospital. First of all, there are two challenges. One, the road. The second, there are no ambulance. Imagine if the road is cut off and there is no ambulance, how will patients survive?
Unfortunately, that scenario unfolded in the midst of our coverage. This man's daughter is delivering in the middle of a pool of water in this ambulance. She has already lost a lot of blood waiting for the ambulance to arrive from a location miles away. Due to poor roads, it never made it on time and her baby died.
Kuja kuchukua mama ambaye alikuwa anataka kujifungua, lakini bahati mbaya kwa ile mvua ilinyesha na barabara mbovu, alizunguka kilomita karibu 70 mzunguko, hadi mtoto sasa alikosa namna na mtoto amerudi amekufa.
Residents of this region have for years attributed such situations to marginalization. But with the advent of devolution, some term it as self-imposed marginalization. Counties like Wajir and Mandera have had their first tarmac road after devolution. The government has initiated 84 billion Kenya shillings to build the first tarmac road connecting the 3 counties in the region, Garissa, Wajir and Mandera counties. Izzadin Haji, TV 47, Wajir County.
Well, thank you for that, Izzadin. Now, victims of insecurity in Baringo North have decried lack of food after they fled their homes following persistent attacks by armed bandits. And as Chechi Josephine now reports, thousands are now living in abject poverty with nothing to feed their families.
Residents of Ngaratuko, Yatia, Kager, Chemoe in Saimo Ward in Baringo North are now appealing to the government to restore normalcy in the region to allow them to continue with their families normally. According to Assistant Chief Jackson Keitani, more than 380 households are facing hunger after their livestock were driven away by bandits following persistent attacks.
Kuna shida mali kuchukuliwa, watu hawana kitu ya kukula. Watu walitoroka. It affects, in my sublocation, affected almost 10 villages with about 380 households.
Wycliffe Samboja, a resident from Ngaratuko, called upon the government to step up security in the region, saying they cannot feed their families following banditry attacks which have subjected them to hunger.
Kama serikali wangeshughulikia jinsi inavyofaa kulingana na katiba na sheria ya nchi hii, sisi hatungesonga kiasi hiyo. Hao watu si story na chakula wanahitaji, si story na mifuko wanahitaji. Story yao ni kuhitaji ardhi katika eneo hii. Kwa sababu wamekuja, kama ingekuwa mbuzi, wangechukua mbuzi na kuacha watu wengine. Lakini wanachukua mbuzi, wanakuua, wanachoma manyumba. So tukiangalia hii kitu ni kama wanahitaji boundary.
They are now appealing to the government to immediately salvage the situation in the region where many families are grounded.
As the government works to find a long-lasting solution to the issue of banditry, I also pray that they look at the effects of this banditry on the families of this region, because these people have really been left so helpless. They are on their own. That's what they feel. If you ask them even where is the government, they say we do not even know anything about the government.
3 people were killed recently in the region after armed bandits attacked Ngaratuko and driving away with over 80 livestock.
Wametulia watu, wametunyang'anya mifugo zetu. Sisi wote, watu wetu wote wamo mali tulipo. Wameama mbali. Ya pili, sahizi mashamba zetu zimewachwa kafu. Hakuna kulimwa, chakula hatupati, kununua unga unaenda kilomita 50.
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
One person has died early this morning following a grisly road accident involving a Toyota Probox which collided head-on with a 14-seater matatu along the Embu-Meru highway. According to eyewitnesses, the Probox was ferrying Miraa to Nairobi at high speeds and was overtaking on the wrong side of the road before colliding with the matatu which was heading to Meru, killing the driver instantly. Confirming the incident, Embu West OCPD Julius Kiumbule has said that 2 passengers in the matatu have sustained minor injuries and are receiving medical care at Embu Level 5 Hospital.
Mimi nilikuwa natoka Nairobi nikielekea Meru. Kufika hapa Kangaro hapa, hiyo Probox ya muferi kuna toka pande ya Runyenjesi. Alikuwa amekuja akiwa amebateki miguu inainuka hivi ikiwa narara na upande. Ndio alikuja akanipata kwa reni yangu akanigonga. Na vile wa Probox walikuwa zaidi watu 8 kwa Probox. Na wala mimi nilikuwa nabeba 14 seater, watu 14. Watu wangu wao wameenda hospitali ni 2, hao wengine 12 wameenda safari, wameenda safari ya Meru. Wamebeba na gari nyingine wakaenda Meru. Wangu hakuna vile wameumia sana. Ni 2 tu wameenda hospitali kwa gari yangu. Wa Probox ndio amekufa. Probox ndio nimeona watu wamelala hapo wengi sasa sijui.
Mwenendo wa leo asubuhi kitu kama saa 3 hivi pale katika mlango mkuu wa kuingia shule ya Kangaru kulikuwa na ajali ambayo ilitokea baina ya matatu na gari ya kusafirisha miraa. Huyu bwana wa kusafirisha miraa alikuwa anatoka upande wa Meru akielekea upande wa Nairobi, na huyu mwingine ambaye ni hii kampuni ya kusafirisha abiria ya Mekena Sacco alikuwa anaelekea upande wa Meru. Kwa bahati mbaya yule jamaa wa kuendesha gari la miraa aliovertake kupitia upande wa ambao ufai, akapita kwa pavement na vile kuja kugongana ana kwa ana na yule bwana wa gari ya abiria ambayo ilikuwa inasafiri ikiwa inaelekea upande wa Meru.
Now, the Ilchamus community, one of the mass-speaking communities in Baringo, still holds their culture in high regard in their daily lives, especially when it comes to marriage. One such wedding was witnessed this weekend, as Joan Kimani now tells us.
We follow Leshan Milalo from Lokumkum area in Baringo South, who is marking a great stage of marriage which begins with blessings from the elders, followed by 3 sheep which are brought into the room as part of the traditional ceremony.
Hiyo mbuzi 3 inaletwa kama ni ishara kama ile pete ambayo watu wanaweka. Hiyo ndio mwanzo. Ikiwa na iwe na ng'ombe, isipokuwa na ng'ombe, hiyo kondoo ndio kufungua mlango.
Kuna ile ambayo wasichana wanaenda kama stay, lakini bila hiyo kondoo 3 hakuna kitu ambayo umefanya. Unaweza nyang'anywa wakati wao. Sasa wale wasee ambao wanabariki hii ni sisi ambayo tunasimamia hawa vijana.
After all that is done, the journey to the bride begins as the groom and best man lead the way. They are not allowed to look behind or speak to anyone, as they believe that if they do so, the blessings will be gone.
Vijana wanaimba ni rika yao ambayo wanasindikisha huyu kujua ameoa rasmi. Bibi amekuwa yake, watoto wamekuwa wake. Hakuna ile mzee atakuja kuuliza huyu mzee chochote tena.
On arrival at the bride's home, the groom hands over the sheep and greets his mother-in-law 4 times. Later, preparations for the wedding begin with the groom and his best man being smeared with red soil and receiving blessings from the elders.
Mzee ya kuchukua mtoto anakwenda sema nini fager yani semeji alafu hiyo kondoo natengeneza hiyo semeji semeji.
Sasa ile unaona watu wakisema kusalamiana ni ishara ya kusema semeji habari, ni ishara ya heshima. Ukiona mtu yeyote kuhusiana na familia utamwinamia, hakuna kugonga kichwa. Hii na hiyo inamaanisha unaheshimu, ni ishara ya kuheshimu kwa hiyo familia yote.
The ceremony is significant in the community as they believe that it discourages the common come-we-stay marriages as well as barrenness and promiscuity.
Mambo na come-we-stay imeisha. Nitakuwa nimeoleka rasmi na niko na haki ya kufuata mambo ya mali yangu kama bibi wa familia. Kwa hivyo nikioleka kirasmi ninasikia kwamba nimekuwa bibi katika hiyo familia.
Usipofanya hivyo hakuna sheria, hata ukikaa naye mpaka kama ile koko unaona hakuna kitu umefanya. Hii ndio rasmi.
Joan Kimani, TV47.
Now, a lack of maternity services at maternal health facilities across the health centers in Trans Nzoia County has been blamed for endangering the lives of many mothers who reportedly lose lives at their homesteads in the process of giving birth. Health stakeholders in Trans Nzoia County claim 4 mothers die every month in such situations. Boniface Baraza has the details from the county.
These are tens of residents who turn up for free medical camp at Sihendu Dispensary in Kimnini constituency, Trans Nzoia County. The outcry of pregnant women who have their friends lose their lives due to lack of maternity services and failure of operationalization of dire services at the health facilities.
Maternity pato ichafunguliwa na hapa ndio karibu. Sasa waliniambia niende hospitali kubwa na sina nini, sichiwezei. Hapa ndio karibu yenye tunaweza kimbilia.
Tunalazimika kujifungulia nyumbani kwa ajili maternity yetu ijafunguliwa. Pia kutoka hapa kwenda Matunda ni mbali na mtu anaona badala ya kwenda huko sina fare, wacha tu nijifungulie nyumbani.
Tunapoteza na amefuja damu nyingi, mama anakufa ama huenda ikawa mtoto anakufia ndani ya tumbo. Sababu ya kukaa ndani ya tumbo muda mrefu kutokufika kwa matibabu sahi ambayo hii inahitajika.
Pregnant women seeking medical attention during childbirth at the clinic and dispensaries within their locality are referred to other health facilities, some which are as far as 50 kilometers away.
Inabidi wamama wa mimba wakuja hapa tuwahudumie tu kama ni NC peke yake, lakini ikifika kujifungua tunawatuma mahali kama Matunda ama waende district.
As this is reported, it is alleged that 4 mothers lose their lives every month due to birth-related complications.
Katika hiyo hali ya wamama wajawazito kujifungulia nyumbani, unaweza pata kwamba tunawapoteza mama na watoto. Na kama kwa mwezi hivi tunaweza wapoteza mama wajawazito, wamama ambao wanajifungulia nyumbani wanaweza kuwa 4 na zaidi.
Local leaders have challenged the county government to intervene and avert the worrying trend.
Unfortunately, like the current county government, will concentrate mara mingi sana kwa building like the referral facility at the expense of these fast defense facilities. Kwa mara mingi wangejenga hizi hospitali za mashinani inapunguza kesi za referral.
With continued outcry of expectant mothers due to the lack of maternity wing in majority of hospitals in the county, they continue to call on government to intervene and avert the situation. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Sihendo location, Kiminini constituency, Trans Nzoia County.
Well, thank you, Boniface Baraza, for that. Time now for a very short break. When we come back, I'll be talking to political scientist Professor Adams Olo. Keep it here for that.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.